Okay, our broadcast is live. Results on a Rampage for October what? 28, 3 days from Halloween. I call this my barnyard fence look. So I have this background behind me that is weathered pine. I've got a client in Tasmania who saw this background when I did a coaching call, I think yesterday, and she laughed because she said, "That's what I see all the time." So she was talking about the weathered wood in the background. Today, our results on a Rampage is a special edition where I'm in the middle. In fact, I just wrapped up 15 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, the first day of my October two-day book challenge. Now, those of you that have followed me know that a month ago or so, first part of October, I invented this idea of doing a two-day book challenge. I administered it to myself first, kind of like trying the medication out on oneself first. I was curious to see if I could organize a process to write a book in 2 days. And I had written several books, and longer than that, so I hadn't ever done one in that speed, but I had an idea, and I had been several places where different ideas had been put forward about how to do it quickly, not necessarily in 2 days. There's been some people talk about writing it in a weekend, which is roughly 2 days. I don't know what those processes are, and I haven't ever attended one, but I'd heard some different descriptions of it. So I decided to put my own process together to write a book in 2 days, and I did it myself. And I wrote a book that had been in the works for a long time. So I have a show, Results on a Rampage, on LA Talk Radio. I do this Hangout on the same day, Tuesday nights, called Results on a Rampage. And what we normally do is we talk about results principles. We talk about things that people do who achieve massive results. And occasionally we talk about barriers to massive results, things not to do. So we talk about ways to get it done, helps that make us get it done, mindset challenges, mindset tricks and tips, time management things, just ways to prioritize, just things to get stuff done. And the Results on a Rampage LA Talk radio show is really aimed at entrepreneurs, and there I have both done a lot of solo rants, and half of them are probably interviews of people that have been very successful in one way or another. Interestingly enough, almost every successful entrepreneur, which has been dozens that I have interviewed on Results on a Rampage on LA Talk Radio, has a story of success and then some kind of crash and burn, and then having to fight through that and go through back up to success again. We call that the hero's journey, but it's funny because without exception, everybody has had that experience, some head-on collisions and so forth. And it was interesting. One of our guests here on the panel today was a guest a couple of weeks ago, Manny St. Victor, also has had similar experiences. One of our writers today in our special edition that we're going to talk about also told a story during the process of book writing today that also talked about his version of the hero's journey. So it is so enticing and inviting to hear people that have both failed and then succeeded. And sometimes I've heard the phrase, people connect more with our messes than our successes. I think that's because we then seem more accessible. So today's special edition of Results on a Rampage is about this book challenge, the Book Challenge Special Edition. So we started the challenge this morning at 6 a.m. Pacific Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We had 5 people participating, 4 of the 5 writing books. One of the participants had made arrangements with the ahead of time to use the days a different way, but also very structured and rigidly. So we have 4 new books being written, and we are at the end of the first day. Now, all of the people that were writing can't participate tonight just because of scheduling and so forth, and I kind of sprung it on them anyway, just because I thought this would be fun to do. I intended to use tonight to talk about it, but we have a couple of people that have been participating today on the Hangout. So the first, who has been writing? Well, our challengers have. One of the things I promised everyone is that I'd done 3 weeks ago the successful 2-day book challenge myself and wrote the book, which is in editing, and it should be done, I hope, by the end of November and available. So it should be completed and out. It's written. And then I also had promised that during the 2-day book challenge I was going to write another one. So I am. and I'm going through the challenge with the challengers themselves. It's proving to be particularly challenging, no pun intended. It's a longer book than I had intended, and is going to work me pretty much to death to get it done. But you know what? That's the challenge part, so that's okay, and I plan on doing that fully and participating. So without further ado, I want to introduce the one challenger that's here with us. Dr. Weta Brown is participating in our two-day book challenge. Welcome to the show, Weta. You need to unmute and say something.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you just perfect.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, that noise is caused by... There. Now say something. Unmute again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Perfect. Yes. Mute that microphone. Great. So I want you to. We've been having a little technical thing, so she has to be on twice, as you see there. Once is the beautiful picture with the red hair, and the other one is real live and in person. And had some challenges. One of the mics doesn't work, and speakers and so forth. So she's been on twice all day today, which is just one of the things you do when you work with technology. So she's managed around that well today. Weta, tell us about your experience today writing a book.
Well, the thought of it initially was overwhelming. And this morning I had technical difficulty. People couldn't hear me. So I got a little frustrated and was going to quit until next time, but resolved that. And I started doing the work, and I'm almost halfway done with my book. I'm excited because I thought I wanted to write a book. It was on the bucket list, but it would be like when I was 60 or 70 or something. So I'm excited.
So did you get out of today's, and this isn't rehearsed, everybody that's watching, did you get out of today what you expected despite the technical difficulties and feeling like you were a bit behind?
I did. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect because I was like, really? I'm going to write a book in 2 days? And I'm like, okay. So I got more than I expected.
Well, I'm excited for you. She's very modest in her participation. She was understandably quite frustrated this morning and said something about, quitting, but I'm the execution mentor, and we don't do that on my watch. So she persevered and let me do my little dance, and she made it just very well, and it was pretty exciting. So she was a trooper. She did really well, and I'm excited. And so she's being a bit modest, but she is over halfway, way over halfway, and I'll tell you why. Because just deciding to write a book or deciding to do anything difficult or powerful is a big chunk of the battle. Getting actually started is an enormous chunk of the battle. So putting pen to paper, creating the outline, organizing the chapters, writing down the topics of chapters and the main points you want to cover, and all of the processes and creating the thread, through the storyline from start to back. By the time you've got that done and put the first word on paper, you're way over half done. The actual writing of it is less daunting when that organization piece is done. So that is fantastic, and I'm really excited. Another challenger that was with us today is now on. Joy, as my wife, she was on the challenge also, but she came on with an arrangement to do other things to make it a productivity day because she's going to write a book, but she's going to do it at the November challenge. So she was getting organized and doing other things today, but participated to have structured productivity. Joy, you want to have some comments about your experience today?
Yeah, I was just joking that it was, before noon, and I had, gotten over 100 plus photographs done and uploaded, cataloged, the whole thing, for my, because the book I'm going to be writing is about eBay and antiques, so I'm going to be using some of the items that I was cataloging as part of the story, my story of collecting and such, and how that is woven through. But the other part is, because I knew I had to be back like in an hour and a half or 2 hours, like it's just amazing with that accountability piece and how much you can get done, like, and how crucial it is to, my success anyway. So it was a really good day. Early, 6 a.m., like the middle of the night. Well.
So I guess you can tell from that Joy isn't normally an early morning person,
Yeah, I
but
am, except at 1 a.m., not
yeah,
6 a.m.
the other end
The
of
other
early
end.
morning, right? Right. Anyway, so it was a delicate balance coaching your wife through a productivity day, but she did really well as well. So that was pretty exciting as well. So that was great. My own personal report is that I got a book completely outlined, all of the pertinent chapters, titles written, all of the the relevant questions written, everything outlined. So I have the outline complete. I then started the book. I partway done written it. Wow, partly done with writing it. I'm not half done with the writing part, but for me the hard part was getting it outlined. It's going to have 27 chapters, and so it's a bit longer than I had anticipated, but it feels really good, and the flow is really good. In fact, one person that was on the challenge who wasn't able to make this show, I posted my thing in the outline, but he did. I posted my thing, all the chapter titles and everything else. And his comment underneath was, "Wow, that looks like a book." And so it was quite funny. I'm really excited about what I got done today. I'm going to have to really work hard to get it finished, but very exciting. So the next, now that's the people that were on the challenge have made a report. I'm going to open it up. We've got Yvette and Manny and Richard Tashma here with us to see if you guys have got any comments or questions about what we did here on the challenge, and that'll lead us into part 2, which is what's with a book challenge. Any questions or comments, you guys?
I'm just excited to see the productivity that took place. That's reassuring. So I'm looking forward to jumping in one of the later ones.
Perfect. Well, we'll be excited to have you. So the second point I put in here is what's with the challenge, and Manny actually led well into that. Perfect question. Writing a book has always been sort of a daunting thing. Oh, crap, writing a book. Partly it was logistical. A few years ago, you had to get a publisher, and doing it yourself was complicated, and you had to spend a lot of money on an editor and a lot of money getting a bunch printed, and the number of people that have had, boxes of 1,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 books in their garage for a month to 10 years are legendary, and the number of people that I've heard stand up on stage say, well, I had to figure out a way to get rid of those boxes of books, and my spouse kept saying, doesn't matter, man or woman, when are we going to get rid of those 10,000 books? It's like, how many charity things can I attend and give away copies of my book? So everybody's heard those stories, and the funny part is that they're all true. And that's how it used to be writing a book. But writing a book now is not like that at all. Writing a book now couldn't be easier. There are numbers of people who will teach you book writing, like I'm doing in these 2-day challenges. There's lots of people that will teach you how to format and organize your book after it's written for Kindle or for publish on demand. We now have, order it and print it and ship it services available at the drop of a hat. Create Space on Amazon does that, and they're certainly not the only ones. So there's competition among the sort of print-on-demand services. There are freelancers who will ghostwrite. There are freelancers who will edit, and on Elance and Odesk and typical places like that. So if you've ever had the idea to write a book, but you've been pretending that you couldn't because of all those reasons, all of those excuses have evaporated. And that, in my mind, is cool. It has made writing a book easy and has taken away all the excuses. It's made it completely accessible to anybody that wants to. You can publish it on Kindle. It used to be that ebooks sort of came and made a big rise, and everybody had an ebook, and people made some money and all that stuff. And then it went down. Oh, ebook, what's that? That's no good. Now Kindle has come back and made ebooks very desirable, and there are tons of books that are published daily and weekly on Kindle for people to download and read. There's still something sexy about the thud factor of a real book, waving a book around that has your name on it. Good for you. There's something really cool about that. So printing 1 or 10 or 100 to have as a very impressive business card is really cool. And in fact, something really interesting is I got an email yesterday from a friend of mine who's just finished his first book and just releasing it, and wanting all of his friends to go, purchase the copy during the period of time on Amazon so he can get ranked and all of that sort of thing. So there's strategies to get yourself ranked and get bestseller on both Amazon, and if you're sophisticated and really want to go for the big stuff, even on the New York Times, about how to do that and how to get yourself some accolades in that world. And it has become a regular piece of publicity to establish a brand and to establish some authority. For the challenge, point number 2 is to show whoever wants to learn that it can be done in 2 days. That the authority that can be created from having a book is accessible to anyone, and the power to do it is in you. You just have to make that decision, get some help, and one of the things that we intentionally created with this is that accountability, to get that done, in 2 days. And everybody starting this morning, there was a bit of skepticism. There was some worry. There was some, churning. And one of the fellows that's not here tonight that couldn't make the show, but he did his, and he looked at my outline and thought, oh, I got to do better than this. And so he felt like he was kind of starting over after 3 or 4 hours. And you know what? He churned out something better. And by the end of the day, he was like, I feel way better. I feel really good. And so he's joining it tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pacific when we start again. All guns blazing, and so he is excited as well. Happy to report that everybody who started with the churning feeling and the worry is all organized. I even felt that way, quite frankly, because I didn't know. You may or may not believe this, but I hadn't decided what book I was going to write. I promised myself and my audience that I would write 3 more books, one in October, November, and December. That's books 7, 8, and 9 for me. But I had not decided which one to write. Last week, it sort of came to me in an epiphany, this kind of, I just got this inspiration voice, I should write this one. It had been one that I thought about, but it had not been one that I'd been planning on doing right now because it's a little heavy and it's a little personal and it's going to be longer, and so that was what I should do, and I approached today with some trepidation. And now I'm in the same place as the other fellow, Brad, who is feeling really good. My outline's done, and I've actually got pen to paper and words, voice to dragon or whatever it is, words on the computer rolling, and I'm really excited. So I'm here to tell you, you've got people here that have done it and are doing it. The challenge second day is tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's powerful. It's good. If you haven't done it, I don't know why not. Whether you use my challenge or somebody else's, there's no excuse. So that's why the challenge. The other thing I offered that Joy was talking about is people that are in my private coaching program, I offered the opportunity to use it as a productivity day if they weren't ready to write a book now, but to have a very structured accountability day so they could get a lot of stuff done, and that was successful in that way. And I have some other private coaching people that are going to join me in other challenges. So the other 2 dates, so are November 21st and 22nd. So about 3 weeks from now, November 21st and 22nd.
22, 23. November.
Okay, Joy is correcting me, and perhaps she is correct. I don't know. So just a moment.
I get a bonus for that.
You get a bonus. Oops.
I get the night off. I don't have to vacuum.
It's actually the 21st and 22nd. So November 21st and 22nd. It's Friday and Saturday in 3 weeks.
I was wrong. I'm sorry.
That's okay. 21st and 22nd, Friday and Saturday is the second 2-day book challenge. And we're going to have one in December on the 15th and 16th.
There you go.
Monday and a Tuesday. So those dates are available for people that want to sign up. It's successful. It's fantastic, and I can't wait to have you. All right. So that was the points that I wanted to make about why we did this. We've had a few more join us, and I want to open it up to more conversation. I see William Rock has joined us. And I think that's all the newbies since last time. William, welcome.
Thanks for the invite, boss. I appreciate that.
You are welcome. William is a magic person with respect to SEO, and he's holding a cool hangout tomorrow talking about one of his favorite books. Here we go again, Who Moved My Cheese, which is a management book a couple of decades ago that talks about adapting to change and not getting stuck in the way that we do things in the past, but realizing that what's important changes over time, both with our life and with the tastes and economics and demographics of consumers and workplace structure and so forth, and being able to make those changes and being flexible is a key value proposition for employers and employees now. We certainly saw that in the result of the 2008 recession, where the jobs that existed before and died at that time don't exist anymore, and a much broader skill set is being looked for and sought for now with the changes in technology. So it's a very timely topic tomorrow, and if you want to do that, you need to come and watch William's Hangout tomorrow.
And thanks, Callan, for being a guest on my panel.
You're welcome. William asked me today if I would show up tomorrow on his panel, and I'm going to interrupt a short period of my book writing to do that. So yes, I will be on the panel as well.
Much appreciate that.
What's that?
And I definitely appreciate all the time you're going to give us, because I think that your insight on this book and the story has so much more power than even I can bring to this book, even though I'm spinning it with the Google twist, but at the same time it's something that we all have a passion for. We all can find where to move the cheese to, or who moved the cheese, and how to find it. There's all sorts of different ways people look and interpret the story, but it's a kid's story, but it's a powerful story that all the CEOs that I know have already read and used that in their business, and their personal life.
Absolutely. So anyway, that'll be a great hangout tomorrow. All right. So the last point I said we'd talk about, we've already talked about a little bit. It's why you should join, and this is a shameless marketing plug for the Book Challenge. But besides a shameless marketing plug to join the Book Challenge, I actually want to give you another thought or two. Then I'll open it up for any comments or questions or throwing from the panel. And that is this. I apologize for my crappy hair. I got up at 1:00 this morning to get the challenge going, and didn't spend a whole lot of time in personal grooming, so you'll just have to deal with that today. Why you should join is way more important than whether or not you join my book challenge. I threw this gauntlet down because I hear all the time at events when I go speak, like I did a couple weeks ago in Dallas, or a week ago Sunday, at a business boot camp there, when I go speak, when I go to events just as a participant, and when I interview prospects for potentially, being clients and so forth, about time. I can't get this done because, and then they cite all kinds of time pressures and problems. And, the discussion of writing a book is just a metaphor for preparing anything lengthy, for preparing an information product, for preparing a course that you want to teach, or a webinar where you're planning on either making some money or offering some help to a certain group or constituency online. And so often the excuse, and I use the word excuse, and I might sound a bit harsh, but the excuse is I don't have time. And my personal experience, both in my lengthy career as an executive and as the execution mentor coaching businesses and people individually, is that I don't have time is an excuse. We all have the same 24 hours, and we prioritize our time according to our choices. So the choices we make are the choices we make. I'm not asking anybody to apologize for their choices. I am asking them to own their choices. And so if you make choices, or I make choices that mean I don't have time left to do something, that's fine. But then the reality is, my truth is that I didn't value it more than the other thing. Now, there are certainly times when that's appropriate, and nobody's saying that. The example that I always give is a dad is busy at home doing work, right? He's got to work, he's got to finish a report, and his son walks in with a baseball and says, "Dad, let's play catch." And the dad says, "Oh, I don't have time." Now contrast that with the very same situation, with the very same report being written, and the boy walks in and his foot's bleeding, and he said, "Dad, I stepped on a big piece of glass, my foot's cut." The dad does not say, "I don't have time." The dad jumps up, looks how bad it is, goes to the hospital, gets the stitches done, and interrupts everything with the same minutes that would have been used to play catch. And if the report doesn't get done, he has to explain, well, I didn't, or he would stay up late and sacrifice some sleep or whatever. It's the same hour, so how can we possibly say we don't have time? And people may say to me, well, Kellen, obviously they would. I agree. But then don't tell me, or yourself, more than me, who cares about me, don't tell yourself you don't have time to do the things that are truly important to you. So joining the book challenge is a metaphor for making the time that you have that you want or that you need to make for the things that are truly important. Now, only you can decide what those are, whether it's writing a book, being with your family, taking care of your health, making more money because you need to for your own obligations or your own desires or the legacy you wish to create. But taking and creating that time is your obligation, because if you don't, you choose by default to leave those important things undone. Results on a Rampage is all about getting big results through effective tools, through effective use of time, and through intentional and conscious choices about how we use our time and resources. So if writing a book is in your list, do it now. The people you could help need you now. The information and wisdom you could share could be used now, not later. End of speech. So now I will invite you to join the 2-day book challenge in either November or December. www.speed2profitmarketing.com/book challenge, and join our successful list of authors, first-time or repeat authors that will have their books done in 2 days before New Year's. All right, I'm done with my rant. I'm opening it up to our enormous panel. We have a big panel tonight, so anybody have anything to add, questions, or other things you want to add to the show? Oh, come on.
I did like your example of time. That was a fantastic explanation, because it makes a lot of sense to everyday moms and dads and grandparents and all these different people in people's life. If you look at that in the same thing as a business side of things, it's the same way as a manager doing the same thing. When you come up to them and say, hey, I've got something important to talk to you, and they just shine you off, I think that kind of plays a little bit back in your story too, but as a business side. And then at the same time, this goes back into what we're doing with these books. We constantly, and I do the same thing. I've been writing this thing for 1.5 years. And now I'm actually pushing myself as fast as I can to get it done. And I think it's a lot to do with the other people that are doing something similar to what I'm doing and going through similar struggles and same fears. Because I think there's a lot of fears that I've had. One is going to be rejection. It's like, okay, so I'm documenting all of my knowledge from all the past companies that I've worked for and looked at all the success pieces, and I'm looking at how do I put that into a simplified business manner so that the average mom and pop or entrepreneur can take a look at this and go, oh, I know how to do this. Even if I have to hire somebody, at least I have the knowledge that I need to be able to hire the right person. So even with that, it's kind of difficult for me, because what if I'm wrong? Okay, that's cool. I could be wrong, and I'm always wrong. I love being wrong because it gives me a challenge. But at the same time, is how do I do that as now a self-publisher? What kind of negative trolling am I going to get with something like that?
So my thought about that is easy. Thank you for bringing that up, because everybody's afraid of being laughed at, having tomatoes thrown at them, particularly when it's in print and everybody's going to throw tomatoes forever, and the answer is good. If you haven't said anything bad enough to bring out several haters, you haven't said anything worth listening to, is what I tell my clients. So get over the haters, let them come, and rejoice when they find you interesting and controversial enough to throw tomatoes. Thank you for that good comment, and that's good. Anybody else before we wind her up? Our time's expired, but I'm happy to have some closing comments from anyone.
While you guys were busy writing today, I had what may turn out to be kind of a life-changing experience and I was thinking about you guys doing that, and I came away from it at the end of the day with thinking this is something I could be writing about in a future event. It was a life story that unfolded for me in ways I hadn't foreseen. So you inspired me, even indirectly. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I'm excited to have you part of our group coaching coming up here. So that's great as well, Rick. And I'm glad that you thought about that and thought about it in the context of putting it in some documented words to help other people. Great. Any other comments before we shut her down? No? Okay. Yeah. What's that? Oh, Weta or Yvette? Go ahead.
I didn't have anything to say.
Okay, Joy waved at me and thought maybe you did, so I just didn't
Okay.
want anybody to feel like they couldn't have their last word.
I got my mic to work though on my computer, so progress.
Hey, there you go. Technical challenge solved for tomorrow. Excellent. Thank you for being with us today, folks. I really appreciate it. Join us next week for another episode of Results on a Rampage.